for again having another great military veteran on the program. So I'm excited to welcome for him Don Gleason. Don, thanks for stopping by. And Don is achieved New Heights LLC, but he's got some other things going as well. Don, thanks for stopping by.
Oh, it's great to be here, and I really appreciate the opportunity. I'm just turning a light on. Looking forward to our conversation. This is
Absolutely.
Sean.
Yeah.
Sean is such a great person. I'm
Oh,
glad you guys met, and
yeah, Sean's amazing. And
yeah.
what he's doing with Vet SOS, the foundation, and
Oh
telling these
yeah.
transition
hmm
stories is just so powerful. And I really love
hmm
his vision. I love that, how he continues to grow the podcast and now the foundation and telling those transition stories because
hmm
it's so important to provide a platform, especially where military veterans are not able to tell their story. That you
That's
guys
right.
go into so many
Oh yeah.
directions and so many different areas, and you don't know once you're finished as a vet, what am I going to do next? And
Yep.
that's what Sean does a great job and has a great vision because there's no real platform out there where people can tell their story
That's right.
as a veteran.
There are a number of podcasts like him. Lori Norris out in Phoenix does
Yeah.
another great one, Lessons Learned for Veterans podcast.
But
And then
his
on, yeah,
vision
but his is
of
good. Yeah.
having a million people telling their story on a
hmm
platform and
hmm
getting all these veterans and their spouses to tell their transition story
It's
and in a
awesome.
way that's it's going to be tremendously awesome. So tell me
Yeah.
specifically who you are and
Yeah.
how you help people.
Yeah. I just want to touch real quick on the piece that you said that veterans don't know how to tell their story. And I think you're so right, right? The training we went through when we joined the military takes all of the me out of it and it's we, right? It's all about the team. And you are almost forbidden to be talking about yourself. And that makes it hard then to come back around. I was involved in a transition program. We called it From We to Me, because companies want to hear about you, right? What did you do? They're hiring you, but we have been programmed not to tell about me. It's all about the team. So, yeah. So, and that fits part about who I am, right? I am a 27-year Air Force veteran. I graduated college in 82, joined the service only because there was a recession. Did not have any plans to do that. I said I'm going to get 4 years experience, and I stayed for 27 because I found a niche that just really fit me. I got to work on projects that lit my soul. I got to work with people that were so exciting. It was so much fun. And it was hard to believe 27 years went by so fast. And then I rolled into a corporate job for 9 years and enjoyed the same thing. But the last 7 years have rolled out into entrepreneur as a coach, doing leadership training and coaching, but really have fit into the career transition piece. I've helped over 250 people in that transition, mainly out of the military, but also some non-military. And we deal with the things we just talked about.
And those things are very powerful, when you think about it, it's
Mhm.
specifically enough. It's not the easiest thing
Mhm.
uh to transition from the military to figuring
Oh,
out these
no.
things. But talk about how you use leadership and from
Mhm.
your days in the military to as a job as a leadership coach.
You bet. And it really is about self-awareness, right? We always talked about getting to know yourself. John Maxwell says, you can't give what you don't have. You can't help other people become aware if you're not growing and learning and seeking to know yourself better. So I do that through the DISC assessment. I've done a number of other assessments like the Strength Finders and Love Languages and some of the others. Still trying to understand the Enneagram. That's a little bit more complex.
Yeah.
But the disc one resonates with me, and it gets people in to help understand, and it's something they can remember. But as you understand yourself more, how you communicate, I was communicating this morning on Facebook with a coach out of Munich. She's a relationship coach, and I was on her podcast, about a year ago, not talking relationships, but something else. But she was talking about hiking and how she's now hiking with her kids. And the experience from 14 years ago when she last hiked this hill to today or this weekend was so different because she had three kids. and she was, trying to keep them back from the edge and all this stuff. And her husband's trying to show them over the edge, just a view, right? The view, not push them over, but show them. And boy, she got upset, and she was like, "Wow, amazing how I changed." So I think we all have to be aware in this career transition of who we are and why we behave the way we behave, why we communicate the way we communicate, the way we like to be communicated to, right? The way we act is so important. And I think one thing we're going to talk about today is I'm pivoting in my business, right? We pivoted back in 2020 with COVID. I'm pivoting here this month. And I really started paying attention to my emotions. And I said, why am I continuing to push it that when I don't enjoy that one bit? And
Why don't you enjoy that? That's a great
yeah,
point.
yeah,
What don't you
and
enjoy one bit?
yeah, and it's running counter to the way I want to spend my time. And it's really about the chasing of clients is what's driving me crazy. As I've been thinking more and more about it, I still love the coaching. I absolutely love when I get to work with somebody and help them walk through their challenge and get to where they want to be. But it's the process of, posting on LinkedIn once, twice, three times a day, making the connections, building the relationship, tracking through a CRM, having that 8 to 16 times that you try to connect with them before they finally start getting into conversation, and all the work that you do to get there. I know it's necessary, but at age 65, I'm just not enjoying it.
And see,
Yes.
that's the point, the chase. That's where
Mhm.
everyone says as an entrepreneur, I'm going to go ahead and be a coach. I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to do blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
Here's the problem. The problem is when you decide to do that, there's a sales process.
That's
And then
right.
you want to go through that,
Mhm.
the selling process. And how do you find the right people? And how do you find
Mhm.
the right coaching clients? And how do you do this? And then
Mhm.
it's like, well, you're really in the sales industry. You're
You
really
are
not in the other industry.
coaching.
So you have to really love that. And
That's right.
I hear you
Mhm.
loud and clear. And that's the
Mhm.
process. Oh my gosh, you got to sell yourself. You got to get on these calls. You got to do these. You
Mhm.
got to create content. And then
Mhm.
here's the mistake. People think content is just the piece all I need. All I need is get on social
Mhm.
media, tell people who I am, and they're all going to come to me.
Yeah. No,
Not.
they're not.
Nope.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I think that's one of the hardest parts of being an entrepreneur is
Mhm.
guess what? You're going to work 6 times as hard than your current job if you worked a
Mhm.
job, but yet it's going to be
Mhm.
rewarding, but there's going to be a lot of crap put into
Yep.
it together.
Yep.
What are your thoughts
Yep.
on that? I mean,
There's.
because you definitely, I'm sure, can
Mhm.
really lead and coach people and help them and through those
Mhm.
things, but that's not the whole piece of the
That's
coaching
not the whole
business.
piece. Nope. Did you ever hear the book, The Prosperous Coach?
No, I have not.
So he's a very interesting book. Um, I read it a number of times a couple of years ago, then I kind of wandered away from it. And I don't want to go back to that because he goes to a networking event, he talks to people. If they're struggling, he says, "How about if I give you a 30-minute complimentary session?" They
Hmm.
get together, and he says, "That's the way a session works. If you like to work together, here's how we move forward. If you decide not to, that's fine too." And you just got something out of the 30 minutes, so it was not wasted time. And but he doesn't go chasing them afterwards. And he's always had more than enough coaching clients. But he uses his time in networking. And I was just last week at the Society of American Military Engineers, San Antonio Post, small business market research fair.
Right.
And so I came out of the Air Force civil engineer community. So that is my peer. That's my niche, right? And I
Yeah.
wasn't I wasn't able to sell them on leadership training and coaching 7, 8, 6 years ago, but I just absolutely love being around them last week. So as I'm talking to them, they're struggling in different areas,
Mhm.
and I can offer them coaching, offer them a 30-minute. We
Right.
can we can do it and we can go forward. And I'll have content around it. I'll probably still finish my digital class. I'll create a book. I'll have material that they can reference. So there's several ways that they can get to me, but I'm not going to spend hours a day on that chase.
So, and this is a
Mhm.
great point.
Mhm.
I kind of do the same thing in a way.
Is that
When
right?
I did need sales, I would be on that hunt and say, okay, I'm going to sell everyone. Now, after I've grown it, have some very successful clients, I'm going in the
Mhm.
next level. I can be not choosy, but pretty much have a
Mhm.
good conversation, know who your ideal person is, and do that different thing.
Mhm.
I love sales, and I think it's why I enjoy, coaching other people as
Mhm.
well. But I offer coaching for free in my agency. It's more about
Mhm.
I want done for you. I'll do your social media, I'll do your marketing, but I also will coach you. I'll also
Mhm.
consult you. I'll also kind of give you and the
I
ins and
love it.
outs in that
Mhm.
process because I see that people who charge for coaching but do not do anything done with you, it's
Mhm.
really not going to be successful. Successful coaches are the ones that are going to give them that guidance, that consulting,
Mhm.
that help, but also going to provide the resources for you. Not
Mhm.
say, okay, now I just gave you that coaching session, go out and do what you need to do. That's not a
Mhm.
great coach. And that's what
Yeah.
a lot of coaches do. Oh yeah, I have here's an idea, you go with it. Well, we
Mhm.
can get ideas. It's how do we implement them, right?
Well, a good coach walks through the implementation of the idea, right? It's not
Yeah.
just giving them an idea. I
Then
mean,
that's what makes you a consultant, not just a coach.
yeah, a mentor uses their experience to give you what they did, right? A coach helps you think into what you need to do and what resistance you have and how to overcome that resistance so that you will take the action and then they report back. You're right, but a consultant a lot of times it's almost like a mentor. They give the ideas. Um, Sometimes I just hear Darren Hardy talk about this, from
Yeah,
Success
Darren's
Magazine.
amazing. I've been in one of
Yeah.
his events in San Diego.
Yep.
Unbelievable when he was still doing events. One of my clients paid for me to go there, and I was
Mhm.
blown away. He gave me one idea out of that. Can I? I'll share with you with
Sure.
Darren about Darren. I went
Mhm.
to Darren's event in San Diego. He was. This is. I had my nationally syndicated show. Probably 4 or 5 years into the process, and but he was the person who sent me there wanted me to do network marketing.
Mhm.
And he said, "Oh, cut all the sales thing." But guess what? It did the opposite. Darren did the opposite when I was at that event. I said, this is great stuff. I love the people there. And I probably didn't connect with them. Wish I could go back years later and say, oh, let me go back to you. But what I learned from Darren is the power of brand. Darren's big
Power
thing,
of
he power of brand. Darren's
brand. Okay.
big thing was he made money in real estate, right? But
Mhm.
he decided to create bought a magazine for the
Yep.
brand. And, a lot of people have done this. This is what Jeff Bezos did to build his brand. This is how so many other people have. They created media companies. Well, his magazine, getting interviewed, those celebrities attracted people to want to be coached by Darren Hardy and go to his group coaching programs and all those things because of the celebrities he spoke with, which is he's the modern day Napoleon Hill
Yep.
that and I was named one of the modern day Napoleon Hills when I interviewed someone really interesting. It'll come to me in a second. That was in the second secret book. He'll come to me. But those people, you sit down with these amazing geniuses and have these conversations with them. Then you can share with your clients these
Mhm.
tidbits that puts you in a different hemisphere. And
Mhm.
that's Darren Hardy. He's a
Yep.
different hemisphere. He got to sit
It
down with
is.
amazing
Mhm.
people.
Yep.
You
So he
know,
talked last week or yesterday about how to deal with consultants because consultants usually come in, it's the way he described it. They come in, they help you with a problem that you already kind of have a solution to. They give you the solution, they charge you a lot of money for it, and then they go away. And he says, no, you got to make sure that before they come in, you understand what your challenges are. You sit down and have that conversation so that the consultant just doesn't give a rote answer, but they help you with your specific problems, right? You create specific metrics, specific action items. You have a point person, a champion, he called it, from your team who sits with the consultant to make sure that they really understand and they vet the ideas. And then there's a process to go back through and review it with the consultant, right? So I was a consultant for 9 years, and I heard that, and I was like, yeah, I think
and
that's
so you're a hybrid of a consultant and a coach, as myself as
correct.
well.
Yeah.
I come in with I get that process, put it all together, but then say, okay, what are you doing? And then we kind of interconnect the things. So, for example,
Mhm.
one of my clients, Feldcare Connects, well, this podcast is a little different. And then we figured out, hey, I need to do some marketing when I thought I was just doing the podcast. And now I'm going to be talking to Feldcare and saying, hey, now I'm going to help you sell your franchises. I want to be part of that because I'm really interested in what Fell Care Connects does
Mhm.
in the home-based home therapy, uh, in-home therapy business,
Mhm.
and I'm missing the whole it's home-based therapy for home health therapy. And what I learned from that is, okay, now I'm going to connect you to the right people that are going to want to be franchisees. And I'll add that component to my services. So
There
we
you go.
really got to know people and create that consultant type thing and say,
Mhm.
okay, we're not gonna, it's not cookie cutter. That's the problem. We got to offer
Mhm.
something that's not cookie cutter. But
Yep.
Darren Hardy really gave me that idea. When I meet Darren in person again, I'm gonna say, Darren, based on your magazine, that's how I took the Neil Haley show to the level of Hemisphere, because I said, you know what, I'm gonna
Mhm.
build something, I want to build it, and then
Mhm.
build my own thing like you, Darren. And I kind of have the mini version of what Darren's doing at this point. But I want to continue to be the modern day Napoleon Hill, interviewing major celebrities and major thought leaders and innovators every day. And that's what I do in the power of podcasting. And that's why I get to talk to amazing people like Dave Meltzer, called me the modern day Napoleon Hill. David Meltzer, look him up. He's interviewed so many major people, has his major shows and different things. But he had, again, like Darren, something I didn't have that someday I will have, because I'll continue to do that. And that's money to be able to fund all those things.
That's
Because it's
right. There
not,
you go. It's not
I
cheap.
have done it all
Mhm.
through the back of, hey, I'm just going to go out and interview these people, which is kind of like Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill didn't
Mhm.
make his money for a long time. And
Mhm.
so that's the Jeff Bezos again. He stayed the course, not making any money on Amazon forever. Those are the
Mhm.
successful people.
Yep.
But I love the idea of consultant coach. What what is the difference? Let me
Yep.
ask that question for you. What do you think the difference between a consultant and coach? Why do consultants get paid more than coaches? Sometimes, if you're like a management consulting firm that comes in to a high level place, you're going to get a huge amount of money, boom, and then you're done. While a coach stays. But why can't we
Consultant.
hybrid those things? What's the difference?
Thinking back through it, a consultant gets a lot of money. There's the idea where there's a large plant, manufacturing plant, and it was down, and they could not figure out what was the problem. And they finally hired a consultant. The consultant came in, spent several hours walking around, thinking into things, asking questions. And then he took a screwdriver and he walked over and he banged on a certain piece of equipment, and it all started working. And he gave him like a $15,000 bill. I was like, well, wait, all you did was bang on that. He goes, $14,900 is for me having the education, the experience, the knowledge, and wandering around. The $100 is me banging on that. I had to know where to bang to make it work, right? And I think that's true of a consultant. You're paying for the expertise, you're paying for their knowledge, their process, and then they will give you that solution. I think
Well,
a
why isn't a
coach,
coach? Why don't coaches have that? But go ahead. With your
yeah, coach, you're not always there's expertise in coaching. I don't have to be an expertise in manufacturing to coach a leader in the plant,
true.
right? I'm talking about how they lead people. So now, for me, I like to be an expert in leadership. So I have 27 years of leadership in the Air Force, 9 years in corporate, leading teams, leading organizations. I was a group commander of 7 organizations, 1,600 people. I got to lead the reconstruction in Iraq, 400 people, $12 billion reconstruction program.
Wow.
So I've taken on huge groups of people and huge programs, and I can help people in a lot of different ways through that. But so I could be a consultant in that realm, but what I love is the working with the leaders to help them
Mhm. You
become a
know,
better leader, become a better manager, become a better
and
person.
they should be getting some of the top ones because of power of brand. If you're working with a major company and you can
Mhm.
turn around their revenue by three,
Mhm.
5 million, 10 million, you're $10,000 an hour. You're $20,000 an hour with some
Mhm.
of the people that are big brand people that
That's
come
right.
in and are able to turn those
Mhm.
things around.
Yep.
People don't see that and fathom
Nope.
that in a way, right?
Nope. Exactly right. Because most of the time, like with me in career transition, I struggle getting people to pay for career transition help,
No,
helping them design their resume, helping them figure out what they want to do, help them improve their networking. Because they always the answer of, oh, I can go on LinkedIn, I can go on Google, I can find that
now I
answer.
can do chat GPT, right? You
Yeah,
don't need
I can chat GPT it, right? I don't need somebody to help me. Well, there's always the question of How has that gone for you, right?
Yeah.
How long have
What
you?
if you could help them get a job at, let's say, Google, making $1 million a year at one point because of your leadership and what you skills that you bring to the table,
Yep,
that you're the perfect fit, but yet you better get into that speakease to be able to
yep,
speak that language.
yep. That's the book that I'm finishing right now, and the course I'm finishing right now is how to really write an impactful, uh, transferable skill bullet that communicates like a story, right? If you ever followed Donald Miller with Story Brand,
Oh,
or
he's amazing, Donald Miller. Yeah.
he is, but he talks about every movie, every book, right? It has a main character, it has a plot, it has a guide, it has a
Yeah.
problem, and they walk through it in very serious ways. But most people, when they write a resume, all it says was I call it a responsibility bullet. I was responsible for this project. I was responsible for this program. Okay, so what, right? Just means that you had your name on it. It doesn't mean how you did the program, how you did the
Right.
project, what results did you achieve, right? It's different for me to say, I was in Baghdad and I led the programming of the 3,200 projects under the $12 billion reconstruction program. Okay, that's responsibility. But when I talk about, we had 1,000 starts in my 4 months. When I talk about we definitized the entire program and implemented earned value so that we didn't have any more cost overruns. Because at one point we had a 100%, $100 million cost overrun when I walked in the door. It's like, what? How do you overrun a $100 million project by $100 million? And it's like, we got to get our handle on this.
No, no.
So that took
Yeah, I would love
my
to look at
yeah,
your. Sorry,
yeah.
you definitely. Here's the problem, and what we're living in, and no like and
Hmm.
trust industry. And Don, you have such experience that, like I say, if I had a company, I'd say, okay, I'd hire you and run that
Hmm.
company as a CEO or COO in seconds because of your ability, your skill
Hmm.
sets, and all that. Say, okay, boom,
Hmm.
here it is. We have a startup. Well, I'd hire you, right? If I
Hmm.
had those. The problem is, it's the power of brand. People only go with a no like and trust thing. You brought up Donald Miller. Now I'm going to go back to the Story Brand podcast and listen to some of the stuff. Why? Because we only follow thought leaders.
Hmm.
So like my time spent is listening to Alex Ramosi, Eric, Neil Patel, listening
Hmm.
to Gary Vee. But it's the
Hmm.
power of a brand,
That's right.
or the ClickFunnels guy. It'll come to me.
Yeah,
But what I'm saying is, um,
Brendan Bouchard.
no, it's not Pepper Song. The
No,
ClickFunnels guy is somebody else, but he also is
no, I'm
with.
thinking.
So that's what I'm saying. Those are the powerful people. That's what you want. People
Hmm.
want to strive for that right now.
Hmm.
You go ahead, you make your deal. Three people, you change their lives. They make money. You're on your way. But however, you got to build it 60,000 times more. And you have that energy at 65 to do that. So it's
Yep.
really an interesting conversation we have.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, so you're in the process now. Where are you going next on? Because you, like I said, you have a story,
Hmm.
great idea of the book and all those things. And from you, if you were able to brand what you just told me,
Hmm.
and that last thing about Iraq, I mean, I'm sorry, Afghanistan, what you did,
That was Iraq. Hmm.
and Iraq, thank you for your service. But guess what? That's an inspiring book. That's an inspiring. And
Hmm.
am I going to want to hire somebody like that that's able to figure out details and stuff to run my company? Absolutely. So where can
Yep.
people check you out?
Yep.
Where can they go, Don?
So where they go to connect with me is on LinkedIn. I'm the only Don L, middle initial L, Gleason. There's like 67 Don Gleasons in some form or another. I'm the only one with a middle initial L. And say that, hey, I saw you here with Neil Haley. I'd love to have a conversation with you about something we heard on
And
this
and
talk,
that's the
probably career
big thing is,
transition.
Don, guess what? You go ahead and you go viral on one YouTube video or one different thing or TikTok. You're sitting here saying, "Oh, my clients are coming to me."
Mhm.
That's the power of brand, guys. Appreciate it, Don. Thanks again. And thank you again, Sean Welsh, for connecting me to Don. I
Yeah,
definitely have a lot of people to connect Don to, that Don could connect the dots to somebody else.
that would be
Appreciate it,
great.
Don.
Thank you much.
You're listening.